not sitting here. You can't sit here.
Seats taken.
And that's right. We're going to review Spider-Man.
Yes, not Forrest Gump.
I'm okay with both.
We're going to review Spider-Man, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3. We got our guest, Nick Stiltman himself. We're going to just stick with Stiltman.
I'm down with that.
Or Ruby Tuesday, or whatever the hell that was before that we completely
TGI Fridays.
Or Ruby Thursday, or some shit like that. We got him here. He's going to help us break down the 3 Spider-Man movies. Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies.
Yes, that's it. That's important to note.
The good Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
Depending on what you prefer.
right, yeah.
That's why I said the good Spider-Man movies.
All right, well, spoilers for the rest of our review.
Oh, yeah, that's it. Spoilers for 15-year-old movies.
Yeah.
Okay, we like the movie. End of review.
Yeah.
Congratulations, guys. All high fives all around.
All right, there we go.
Team.
Cool, we're solid. Go team, go. All right, so the flow is jacked up already. So before we get into
He's blaming me for that.
before we get into the 3 Spider-Man movies, there's one thing that I wanted to bring up when I was watching the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies. Danny Elfman is the one who did the scores for all 3. And I just wanted to bring something up because in the latest news, we haven't really done a Movie Marks news in recent. So Danny Elfman will be composing Justice League. It almost seemed like as soon as Joss Whedon came in, they canned Junkie XL and then moved on. And then that was kind of it. And then he brought in Danny Elfman to finish it up. For me, this was something that was really noticeable. And something that I wanted to bring up in this episode, because when I was watching it, to me, Danny Elfman seems very formulaic, and in my opinion, and I wanted to kind of get your guys' opinions, you can almost swap out Batman the Animated Series, and maybe even sort of like The Nightmare Before Christmas with Spider-Man. Like he just kind of, he has, every composer will have like their style. Thank you. But I felt that Danny Elfman, it was when I was watching it right from the get-go, the intro of Spider-Man 1, it's visually, it looks like the original Batman from Tim Burton's Batman, and I just thought that was kind of a nod, when they're going through the credits and everything. Then as I'm watching the movie, I was like, wow, like it sounds just like it could be Batman, other than the Batman theme, which I love, and I loved the Batman the Animated Series theme that he did. And it's phenomenal. I was kind of like taken back a little bit, because now he's going to pick up in Justice League. Hans Zimmer is way different, in my opinion, than Danny Elfman. And so when it's already been set, kind of how the tone and how the music is going to be, and a lot of drums and everything. And now you're bringing in Danny Elfman, and like I said, it almost, I noted down some of like Hans Zimmer's movies, and though they are similar, I don't think they are interchangeable. As far as like, I forgot he did The Lion King until I looked it up. He did Gladiator, Inception, the Dark Knight series, Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. And all of those, to me, weren't, like I said, they're not interchangeable. And that was one thing that when I was watching, I was like, man, that is going to be something that I will pay attention to now, being an adult and caring about, the music and everything that's behind the film. And I appreciate it a lot more. And I think I credit this to you, Nick, because you give me soundtracks, and your father-in-law gives me soundtracks, and I love them, and I'll download them onto my phone, and that's what I listen to, even like while I'm at the gym. And so anyways, just kind of, that was something that I noticed, and I wanted to get your guys' take as far as how you feel that he's going to do with the Justice League, and maybe you have some examples of if he can change a little bit, because superhero movies, though they are superhero movies, aren't all the same, and so I think that's going to be a tall order for Danny Elfman.
And to just briefly correct you, you did make just a small error. Danny Elfman didn't do the third Spider-Man, and he actually was. Actually, him and Sam Raimi had a falling out or a problem during the second Spider-Man, and so so the only one that is fully 100%
Elfman,
the Elfman, yes. The only one that's fully Danny Elfman is Spider-Man 1. So Spider-Man 2, they still use like recycle some of his stuff that he's done, but they had, I don't know, I think they had another composer come in and kind of finish it off. So the only one that actually has just Danny Elfman is Spider-Man 1. And with that, oh, good.
Oh, I was just going to say that's interesting to note, because I did, by the time the third one came around, and I thought it was just the tone they were trying to set of the movie, I did notice a difference. But I also noticed a difference visually, and it's still a Sam Raimi movie. So I noticed, I was like, oh, maybe that's just the tone they were trying to go for, but it still sounded, really similar.
Yeah, I know a lot of people crap on Danny Elfman because for that reason, because a lot of the stuff he does, the Alice movies and Batman and Spider-Man, kind of that he does have kind of a formula. I do think though, and I don't mean this in kind of a ironic way, because I think it's been used way too much in an ironic way, but I do believe that the Spider-Man soundtrack does have an iconic feel to it. I do think that I would put the Spider-Man soundtrack, the score with like the original Batman that Elfman did, the original Superman. I think there's certain soundtracks, certain themes that fit a character, and I think that's kind of a problem that is current, in current movies. There's not a lot of like, well, this is obviously Iron Man's theme, or this is obviously Batman's theme in the new stuff, and so I think that with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man, I think that they were able to do that still, and I think that Danny Elfman's soundtrack actually gives that level of like, this is his music, this is Spider-Man. And so I actually really, really enjoy Danny Elfman's stuff, at least in this movie. I do understand it can get repetitive, and they do kind of blend together quite a bit. And I can see the Batman overtones, I totally can.
Right.
But I think it's just different enough that I can be like, that's Spider-Man, that works.
Yeah.
Because I was listening to it even on the way here, and it's like, there's weight to it, but it's different than I think Batman's.
Yeah.
So
I enjoy his work for sure. I just, going back to the themes, that no one really has solid themes anymore. That was one thing that I thought Hans Zimmer did really well in Batman v Superman is Wonder Woman has hers, Lex Luthor has his, Batman has his, Superman has his, and anytime they're on the screen, they have, their version, their song that's kind of playing, and it really helps. It, kind of sets the tone a little bit. And I hope they continue to borrow from that as they did in Wonder Woman. Hans Zimmer, unfortunately, I guess I'm kind of bummed, because I really like his work, and to see that he basically said he doesn't want to do superhero movies anymore. So then they brought in Junkie XL. And back when I first heard that, I was like, okay, he actually had a hand in doing the Wonder Woman theme. He helped. He's credited with like 4 things from Batman v Superman. That's a solid carryover, that he can kind of continue what has been set. And then you get Danny Elfman, which like I said, I enjoy his stuff. I liked what he did in the first 3 the first 3 Spider-Mans. It's just different. It's way different. And it wasn't, like I said, it is very interchangeable with the rest of his stuff. So go ahead, Matt.
I'm not positive, but didn't Elfman also do Avengers?
No, that was Alan Silvestri, I believe.
He had a hand, when I was doing some research, he had a hand in Age of Ultron. He's credited for like a couple things.
Okay, I wasn't sure. All right. So one of the things about the DCEU that I think most people can maybe admit to, even Nick might admit to this, is that the music is unique. It has a much different flow to it than the MCU. Other than Guardians of the Galaxy, which that's not necessarily a score, that's a soundtrack at this point.
Right.
That's a greatest hits type setup. The music is very unique in the DCEU, and Marvel's kind of, it's trumpets. They use that same melody that was like in the Avengers for every movie now.
True.
It's in every single one of the Marvel movies. They run that melody in the background every once in a while. So to me, the Marvel music kind of, the Spider-Man music, I don't know. You said it was pretty synonymous with things. I could barely remember it, to be honest.
That's okay.
I could barely remember it. I remember Batman, but I do not. The score that we just watched these movies, and the music didn't really stick out to me at all. Not one bit.
That's all right.
The Amazing Spider-Man one did.
Because it's terrible.
But no, it was actually a decent score. That's what I couldn't believe. It was such a shitty movie.
Right.
And they actually had like some decent score behind it.
Yeah, so I think...
And it was Hans Zimmer.
Yeah, it was. So...
Hey, everybody has their composers they really like.
Well,
And
and
it's-
maybe
and-
I honestly
that-
didn't know it was Hans Zimmer until later, but I was
Right.
like, oh, this is a really impactful score.
Yeah, different types of styles.
Yeah.
I can totally see that.
And so, just I don't know. I just when you were talking about that, I'm like, man, I can't remember a fucking tone or a beat or anything
Right,
from
yeah.
that Spider-Man.
From Spider-Man,
Other
yeah.
than the terrible, in the middle of each movie, they had a little song playing, like whatever, some old retro song or something. Yeah. They played that part. I can remember those. And then you had the little Strident commercials or whatever, the double mint gum,
Right.
freeze frame shit.
Okay, I think that actually is a good jumping off point into something else. That I think that the reason I enjoy the Spider-Man movies is that they have heart. Is that they have fun. Is that
makes
they
it
have
hard.
No, seriously.
Freeze
because
frame. It's hard.
when I watch,
I think it's Iroh.
Well, we can jump right into Spider-Man 1. I just wanted to get your guys' take on Danny Elfman, and I guess we'll see how when Justice League comes out how it ends up, and
as always, it just everything goes back to Marvel or Batman v Superman, doesn't it?
a lot. Well, so
10 minutes into a Spider-Man podcast, we've already done Batman v Superman
and
Avengers and crapping on Marvel.
Right.
And I mean, it's record time. That's good.
No, I think with Doctor
good.
Strange, I said, let's review this piece of shit movie. Like,
that was record time.
and I lost it.
Yeah, no, I just so even when I first heard that John Williams wasn't going to be doing Man of Steel and a bunch of people were shitting on it, at that time I was kind of like, oh, who gives a shit? It's just a score, and we'll see how it goes. And then when Hans Zimmer did such a fantastic job, and then the carryover into Batman v Superman was even better. That's kind of I want to say it was either you or your father-in-law that gave me the soundtrack to Batman v Superman. It's just, I love it. It's phenomenal, and I love his work. Same thing with The Dark Knight. You watch I think he did the Dark Knight series. And so I just became a huge fan of him, and it does come across like shitting on Marvel and just shitting on the first three Spider-Mans, but honestly, to me, I'm just a big fan of his work, and it was a noticeable difference of like where Danny Elfman is gonna have to go to keep some sort of consistency. Otherwise, like Matt said, it might just be forgettable. And that's kind of where I was coming from. So now on to Spider-Man 1.
10 minutes in, we're finally going to talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks to Shane.